Hi, good evening or good afternoon, everybody. Today's the second class of week 3. So we're getting there. All right. So for today, the announcements, please make sure to go back, review the feedback, and resubmit the work that I gave suggestions on. Today's class, we're going to do a review basically of a lot of the material as we pass into next week for the final week. And as always, if you have any questions, please contact me. All right. So as we discussed yesterday, yesterday we added the required material. Let's try this again. The required media query code for mobile display. Okay. Now, what that did is it added this section right here, right? Well, if we want to add another section because of that, let's say I want to put it on the tablet. All right, because media for mobile, tablets are just as important. So I want to discuss a little about that. All right, so here's our query, right? Well, let's go find that query here. As we know, we put it down towards the bottom. Okay, starting right here. So what I'm going to do is copy that and come down here, and I'm going to post it. Remember, okay, so now I want the minimum width instead of 768 for the max, the minimum width. The minimum width is going to be 769. Oh, come on. 769. And the maximum width is going to be 1200. That puts it down there for a regular screen, okay, for the tablet. Anything above 1200 is the desktop. All right, now, what that did is it added the second one up here. So if I want to make some changes to it, we could do it all over here because, well, we just added it. Or we could do it here. So remember, all CSS and the media queries and everything, media queries were started introduced in CSS, right? In fact, it was CSS 3. So, but as we're looking here, we want to change this CSS, right? And this is really simple to do. All right, so margin top, well, let's see, 28. What if I wanted to take that to 15? Notice it didn't really change anything up there because that's not enough to see it. All right, so we'll go back to 28. Left 0, width 100%. Well, I want to put this at 50%. All right. And now that changes that whole section. Okay, that's the media header. All right, so I just changed the header. So let's go to primary header, container header. Now the media header, that's the secondary header. We didn't change the media. So the secondary header is right here. Go to the secondary header. There we go. And again, well, I'm not in that area, so you have to click down, okay? See, the problem is if you're up here in the viewing, I'm basically saying we're going larger. That's for the desktop. Now, the 769, okay? So it goes to right here. That's the minimum, all right? So the minimum, so this area in here is set for any, depending on your smart tablet. Above that step is the desktop. That's why we didn't see anything, okay? So let's take this to 100% and watch the difference. See how that puts it out there now, and 100% actually centers it? Well, thinking about that, let's go back up here. Let's go down to here, to the smaller one. And remember how we were discussing that, right? Everything has to have a start, a name, a start, stop, okay? So we have, let's go up to here. All right. Dot right underscore article, open bracket. That is the name plus the starting symbol. The open bracket is the start of all coding, right? For that section. Margin top. And the good thing, for example, I want background to be, and this gives me all sorts of different things it can be. All right. Well, notice now also color, background. I have to put the dash to get the color. All right. And then I hit enter. Whoops. And I can choose a color. Now, because I'm in Dreamweaver, it's attached to my library. All right. So I haven't set up a color for this thing. All right. So what I'm going to do, let's take, since her wedding colors were about the same, we're going to go ahead and take that as the background. Now that's the right article. As we go down, there it is. See, it's that one section. But because the information on it, it left everything else. Okay, so the background color goes behind it and does not supersede everything else. Now, we also have the ending statement. All right, now let's go back up to the top. Oh, too far. There we go. All right, so what I want to do, secondary header, we're going to put the color there. All right, so enter. And remember, you have to put a semicolon at the end. So we want background dash color. Now I'm going to grab that same thing. Right there. And now if I put an enter, notice it works. But it does leave it open to errors because I did not say stop. All right. It could flow into other things if you don't put that semicolon. All right, so now we'll take that out. We don't want it there. So that's how easy it is. Now I could do that over here as well. But the thing is, with this color, all right, so we're going to pick this one. Secondary header, background color. Let's see. Click on background and the color. Notice I don't have the choices here. You'd have to actually come up here, go to your color library, grab the color by clicking on it, come down here, paste it to add it. All right, so that's where that difference comes in. Now, as you can see, I put that on the secondary header here. Now the secondary header here, it's there, right? So it automatically puts it in there. So you have a choice of typing it or not. That's what the shortcut's for, all right? Command Z gets rid of that, puts it back to what we had. Okay, and this week we're talking about mobile first. So mobile first is basically, what is the idea of mobile first? Well, mobile first is building with the idea of mobile devices prior to in mind, as well as desktop, right? So mobile first just means that it's going to load faster by the way you design it. So less pictures, less text, and some sections may be kept out. You may not, sometimes people take those sections out, okay? So they'll hide a section. Okay, so as we're going here, we've got all these sections, right? Left article, right article. And then we also have, that's the sections here. Now we talk about these sections, right? So this section is smartphone, this section is tablet, and this section's desktop. Well, these are called breakpoints. The breakpoints between the device, okay? Okay, now let's take a look where it says here maximum width is 1200. So it will go between 769 and 1200. It doesn't go wider than that, right? And the reason is, well, smart tablets don't go larger than that. All right, now, if I want to take an image and scale it down so it actually fits within there, all right? So I want to go to here, and the image, right article image. Well, let's see. We have right article. We don't have a right article image, right? So we're going to add that. And I put it right there so it automatically goes to the bottom. And the maximum width would be 100%. So it fits in there, right? Well, what if I put the maximum width? See, notice it went from there and put it back where I actually put the insert up here. Come on. Where did it go? There. Okay, there's a right article there. And we have a right half there. Now right here is a right article. And that's that section. Come down, we have a right article there. Let's take a look at this coding. I think they may have made a mistake. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to code view here really quick. Right article. Huh. That's odd because it's now got two right articles over there and there's only one right article here. So we're going to delete that one. Whoops. Right article, delete. Come on. Down here. Make this a little larger. And we're going to close this temporarily. Yeah, there's the other right article. So there's one right article and second right article. Okay, so this one's at 286. Oh, that put it at the very bottom. What happened was it actually created the right article and not the right article image. That's how you troubleshoot. All right. So now we're going to go back in. Here. And we're going to do this again. So I click on the right article. Now let's go back to split view. I want the image. So I'm going to add a class ID to the image to, let's call it right dash article. Okay, so this will now add a new, see, there we go. We automatically added it right here. By doing this and hitting enter, when you hit plus, it automatically puts it over to here. And it puts it in here. Now, the right article image is minimum width 100%. Well, we're going to change that. Watch. Let's go to 50%. Well, nothing happened because it says the minimum. It doesn't say a maximum. All right. So we're going to delete that and put the maximum width at 25%. See what that does? Now, if I put the height at 25%, maximum height, that's going to be a little different. Because what it does is it does 25% of that area. It doesn't do 25% of the size of the graphic. All right. So we're going to go back to 100. So we're going to just actually take this one and delete it. There. So that puts it all right back there. All right. So that's how easy that is. And what that did is it added it at the bottom. All right. Now, if I want to define more than one image at a time, here, the HTML5, so now we've got to go back to the source code because it's HTML5. Notice it's image. To define more than one, we're going to call it picture, right? All right, so if I wanted to do all the photos, I just say picture instead of image. All right. Next. How do we define a media query? That's going to be the next question. I'm going through my notes here. Notice the media is this one. And that tells you right there, at media. So if you come over to, we're going to go back to here, at media. All right, so that's a media query right there. And the media query defines the breakpoints or certain things within it. Okay, there are other ways to define them other than breakpoints. Here, let's add one. This one down here. And we're going to add one. Look at all the different things we have here. I can even say the device height, the device width. So we can use the device width as well. But now 100%, now no matter what device I have it on, it's going to be 100%. Now that could work for everything, but with all these all these other commands within there, the subcommands in that, it could mess things up. All right. That's why it's not done across the board to do all the others. It actually creates a breakpoint. Now, this is really good if you're working with the idea that different smartphones, different things, right? Well, you can already write that in within these, okay? So instead of the max width, I could put device width. You don't do it by itself, because by itself, it'll cause a lot of issues. Come on, I want to get rid of you now. Oh, great. Now it's not letting me get rid of it. So, let's go down here. There we go. And boom. Gone. There's always two ways to do this, maybe sometimes three within CSS and Dreamweaver. I love it. All right. So a media query just defines it to the screen size that it finds, right? So in other words, this one's the minimum width. So this could be anywhere from 321 to 768 for a smartphone. Oh. Or some of the smaller tablets, right? Most of the time, there's a 400 point, a 460, all right, for a breaking point. So this actually defines the tablet itself. But some of the larger tablets would go into this as well as the desktop. Desktops go to about 1220 now. All right, so this divided it into two. Now, why do we do that? A lot of people like to divide it into three. But by dividing it into two, it makes it so no matter what, it looks the same on the smartphone as it would a tablet. So they've kind of saved themselves some steps by doing that, all right? So I made a mistake earlier with this is the tablet and that's the desktop. I apologize. That was incorrect. This is the correct one, okay? And I don't know why I said that, because I know better. Teaching the programming, we have to actually go 460, I believe, to 768 for the tablets. Media queries are always in the CSS file, right? Now, the media query can be in the header of the HTML if it's internal. But for this purpose of this class, we're using an external CSS file, so it goes across all the pages. So the media query here, and the only reason that would happen is there's times that you don't want certain pages on the smartphone because it won't view properly or it'll be way too small. So that's where putting the CSS in the actual header comes in, all right? But for the purpose of this class, we're actually using this external CSS. So it's in the CSS file. No matter what, it's in the CSS section though, all right? Which is up in the header if you're doing internal CSS. All right, now we can actually write certain code to even change the colors. If the screen is equal to this, we make this text red. Now, do I like this type of setting? No, I hate block paragraphs, to be honest with you. All right, so what I would do personally, because block paragraphs are becoming a thing of the past when it comes to media. There are still people that do it, and then there's people that argue against it. So depending on who you're working for, you'd want to see how they do it, okay? But here, for example, I'm on the columns. So we want to go to columns P, right? So right there, the text. There we go. But look what happened. That whole section is still tied to that column P. That's why they did that, all right? Now what I would do myself is I would add here class and text. So notice we're going to add it into there. Go down. Where did it go? It didn't add it that time. So we will add this over here. There we go. Row column text. All right. And now I will do that just for the text. That's how you would do that. All right. So you'd add it and add just an identifier here. Right. So now we're going to get rid of that. Because like I said, personally, I hate that. Because it's white space on the text, makes it harder to read for most people nowadays. All right, now a responsive website. Why do we do these? Well, one, it keeps our viewers happy, right? Biggest majority of the people are now starting to use mobile devices when they're away from their desk. And these mobile devices go from various different sizes. For example, smartphone display sizes 2018. And always look at the date. Okay, most smartphones resolutions. Let's look here, the worldwide. As of July 2018, we come down. And it tells us right there. This will give us. So there are media out. This is Media Genius, okay? And you come down, and this tells you the viewport size. This is the pixel size of the screen. This is the viewing. This is actually the coding. This is where we're getting our coding from, all right? The Androids. So there are many different options here. Now look at this one. The Chromebook 1280 by 850, 800. The Galaxy Tablet 10 is 800 by 1280. So now you see where I got that 1200 because I got a little messed up there, a little ahead of myself. But yeah, this is where that instead of the max width, the screen size would come in handy, okay? If you're doing just two. Now, by doing it responsive, Google says, hey, we're going to rank you higher because of that. I have no responsive on my website. I'm ranked number 5. How do I do that? There's a couple ways. One of them, I actually take and get people to go to my site more and more and more. I go use it as an example for class. So the more traffic you bring, the higher it goes. Now, if I were to put that responsive, that would help, all right? So I am rebuilding that. I'm in the process of rebuilding it. We'll discuss that here later, all right? Because we're going to go put these breaks into it. And it can make your website load faster. By the smaller screen size, it's usually got a slower processor, so it loads slower. By adjusting for that screen size, makes it a lot easier to load faster. So those are 3 of the main reasons, okay? Now, if I put the maximum 479, it's going to be on a mobile phone, right? So like we were just discussing. I'm going to bring something up here really quick. It's from another class, but this will demonstrate it, okay? And it'll demonstrate some of the ideas that I'm discussing here. All right. So here. Here. And we're going to go to Design 248. And I want the files. All right. So, all right, these are mock-ups. All right. But let's go ahead and bring up the main image. All right, it's Photoshop. And you'll see the breakpoints and how to program around it. But you'll also see the main issue with this one. It was not started thinking about the mobile idea. See, 480, 768, and 1024. So that's where I was thinking on these. Sorry about that. But as I was discussing there, is the this is set up. This graphic is the same size on those two. It's smaller on that one. But in this class, it's taught backwards. Desktop to the mobile. Remember, we have to do the mobile in mind. How do you do that? And this is why I've started teaching that class a little differently so that we bring it up at the same time. All right, now, what I do here in the coding, I also want to make sure will work over here. Okay? So I design it. By designing this out first, you can see, all right, they've got the same information on this one. All right, so that's not going to be an issue because there's not really that much, as you can see. So it's not going to be an issue on the information. Graphics, all you'll have to do is set them down to the size that they're in here, right? So that's where the CSS would come in, the breakpoints right here, all right? So I hope that helps a little. All right, now I discussed having the float. All right, so when I discuss the float, let's go down up here to the float. Float right here. When we discuss the float, let's go ahead and we're in columns, okay? So I want to go to, well, let's do this the easy way. All right, so we go to div container. So the divs, columns, thumbnail, right? Those are all thumbnails. Header, it's all metadata. You see, as I was telling you, the header section, primary meta, menu. All right, div, row, thumbnail. The body, div, container. All right, so we don't need this one. Whoops, we don't need the header because it's in the body. Div. Okay, the container, row. All right, it's not showing up. It's supposed to be over here. So we just saw another little issue. This is set up mostly, but it's missing some things. As you can see, we just demonstrated that. So it's another one of those little errors. So Now we'll just come find it over here. All right. So I want the container columns. And I already deleted the text one because we don't really need that. All right. Well, let's go back here. And I'm actually going to delete this one so that we're not messing up anything. All right, there. Now, as you can see, like I said, that goes up to the tablet size. All right, so now container secondary, no. Container, now let's make this larger. Container social. Columns, there we go. All right, so now with the columns, with the 100%, if I were to write the dot sidebar content, all right, well, let's go back here. Let's just look at the code. All right, so like I said, I took all that extra out, and there is no sidebar here, all right? But if I were to put one in there, okay? So if I were to write this, dot sidebar, comma, space, dot content, open bracket. Okay, now that'll put those brackets there, and I get to start putting my stuff, right? All right, so now, what if I were to put this? Float none. And I need to make sure to add the space. Width. Auto. All right, so I just added this sidebar in here. Let's see if it messed anything up. Notice nothing's messed up. Why is that? I have nothing tagged to that. I don't have that tag here. No matter what I do, there is no sidebar. So it didn't mess anything up. So that would be what we call extra code, or to clean up the extra code, get it out of there, it's also known as dirty code. All right, so but what would that do? What it would do is since I put it in the mobile one, it would display the sidebar content with no float and the full width of the browser. It's exactly what that would do. So that was the sidebar content, which is right there. Because I put it in at the top. So let's delete it because it's dirty code. Well, see, it adds something, but it doesn't really do much, okay? Come on. See, it didn't do anything except add a little space on this one because we don't have anything set up for that. All right, now when we're dealing with CSS, remember the units we have are right here. We click, and those are our units right there, all right? Those are the only units we get to use. That's a unit of measuring. Okay, now when we're dealing with this, as we've discussed, the thing that'll adjust things, come down here, we have our margin. The margin affects outside of it. This is the area, Okay. Let's go ahead and we're going to bring up Illustrator and demonstrate this. So that you can actually see it, I'm going to use boxes for this. All right, so let's take this one. We have 2 items. All right, so we have 2 items. We're going to make them blue. All right, so we have 2 items. All right, so if I want to affect the margin, basically, the margin is the space around it, okay? And that margin, if they're within the same mode, if they're in the same area, are usually that right there. So we double it, okay? There we go. All right, and then this one. All right. So the margin is that right there. If I were to increase the margin, it would increase this one and this one. All right. But at the same time, well, if I increase the left side of the margin or the right side of the margin only, that one stays right there. Okay. So all it does is makes them the same, increases this around it. All right. That's the margin. Now, when we talk about padding, the padding, let's go back. The padding. Now the padding would be, this is the same size, okay? So I'm going to delete that. Command C. All right, so the padding would be this. This is the size of it, of the object. So it's that object size. Where the margin is outside that, the padding is inside that. So the picture padding now would be this. Where before the margin would be, and this adjusts, like when you're adjusting the padding between your text and a photo in Word. All right, and this will, now I can also make the padding different for this one so that it's there. Now it all depends on left, right, top, bottom, right? As we look, left, right, top, bottom. Okay, so that's how we adjust the padding. Now the last one, the position. The position is where we put